Hello and welcome to the Miraculous Being series. I'm your host and self awareness coach Shweta Shibraman, and this is a show where we discover, learn, and implement lessons from others' life journeys. Others who I believe epitomize miraculous in its true spirit. Individuals who live life to the fullest, who worked hard on themselves to reach where they are, and are passionate in what they do. Today's speaker is Deepa Narayanaswamy. Deepa is the co founder of Flexibees, a company that helps women professionals find part time and remote roles suited to their experience and flexibility needs while helping businesses hire the right fit talent for their requirements. It fixes the leaky pipeline of women leaving the workforce while contributing to business goals and enhancing diversity and inclusion in companies. It has helped over 500 businesses across the globe hire women professionals across roles and functions. She is also the co author of Flexibees' book, Found Again Real Stories of Women, Work, and Flexibility. A CA by qualification, she has worked with PwC and ITC. She joined the MBA program in IIM Bangalore and then donned roles in management consulting and corporate strategy across KPMG and Aptech. At Flexibees, Deepa leads talent sourcing and onboarding, finance, and legal functions. Deepa also dons the hat of a speaker on panels on a range of topics concerning diversity and inclusion, entrepreneurship, flexible working, and future of work. She is also the vice president of the Pan IM Alumni Association in Singapore. She's a mother to a 9-year-old daughter, lives with her family in Singapore, and pursues writing, playing the piano, spirituality, and recently attended the School for the Work by Byron Katie in Los Angeles. Let's dive in and hear Deepa's story. Hi, Deepa. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Shweta, and thank you for having me. It's
Yes.
great work that you're doing, and it's a pleasure to be here to join you.
Yeah, I was just reading your introduction, and though we had a different plan of what to converse in the conversation, I'm just wondering how do you have time to do all of that? The number of things that I listed down: playing the piano, writing, spirituality, mother, working with Flexibees. Maybe a good
Yeah,
starting point would be sharing your journey and maybe some pivotal moments of where you are today.
sure. I'll try to capture. So I mean, yeah. So I started out as a CA from Chennai. Was very much into academics and my extracurriculars. That's how the culture is, and all of us love music, dance, and all of that growing up. And then yeah, studies became more and more important. And after CA, I pursued my CA with full-time work with PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a big five firm. And then I joined my finance career with ITC. So that was based out of Calcutta, the headquarters, and then I traveled throughout the country visiting different factories and different businesses as part of my portfolio. And then I felt I needed to do more. I felt this need to do MBA. So, and CA was a very grueling kind of a phase. So it's like when you see your peers with in science, they have a little bit of life, and then you feel like, oh, you missed out. You were only working. So I wanted to catch up on some of that. So, and MBA was always on the cards. So I cleared my CAT in my fourth attempt and got into IIM Bangalore, which was my first choice. And yeah, that was a great 2 years, and I made a lot of friends and did very interesting courses. And then I got placed with KPMG in management consulting. I was with them for a couple of years and then moved on to Aptech in corporate strategy. So that was going well, and I could incubate a few new designs. That was the role basically, and that was very interesting. But life stage wise, I was also getting married. I got married somewhere down the line, and I became a mother when I was working with Aptech. So I took a maternity break. But at the same time, also, my mother was also ill. So we had to take care of her. She eventually passed away. So at that life stage, actually, I found it very hard to continue to work. So I took a break. I took a career break and to take care of my child. And Then I thought I'll make it back when things settle down. And that was when I saw how hard it is. So even with somebody of my pedigree and experience to make it back to work in as short a break of 1 or 2 years, right? As it was, the recruitment was so tough. So the questions, kind of questions that get asked of a mother and of somebody who's coming back after a break. So can you do it? Are you committed? How will you take care of the family? And then can I call you at 10 p.m. in the night? So I mean, those questions don't get asked to men, right? So men or fathers or whatever be their life stage. So that was one part of the tough road in terms of getting back. But another part was I was really needing flexibility. So with not enough support system, reliable support systems, I was needing flexible work, so which could match my experience, so and my pedigree. So there was simply no work available like that. So I used to do a few gigs here and there, which was not really satisfying. So that's when me and my friends and batchmates from IIM Bangalore, Shreya and Rashmi, we started talking, and then we saw that this is actually a very huge problem. So of women having to take a break and finding it really hard to come back whenever they are ready, and especially with roles that are flexible. So, and Shreya and Rashmi are also very passionate about women's careers. They were looking around them and seeing that the trajectories that their women peers were taking were significantly different from that of how the trajectories that the men were taking, and the hardships that women were taking was much very different. So we wanted to, and they were also at the life stage where they wanted to give back to society. So they had not quit work at that point. They were doing very well. So Shreya was with Unilever, Rashmi was with P&G. Then we thought we have to do something about this problem to fix this leaky pipeline of women professionals who have to leave and then they find it really hard to get back. So that's how we started Flexibees actually, with a vision to re-employ women professionals in part-time, project-based, work-from-home roles, which match their experience and skill sets and also give them flexibility. So that was the genesis of the company, and the company, of course, is a large part of my being. So I mean, that's what I ended up speaking about.
Right.
So yeah, so that's been a very important part of the journey, and key pivotal moments have been around the company. One is the birth. That was a very tumultuous time when every woman who leaves work faces this, where a crisis of identity happens, where she doesn't know who she's supposed to be, how much of a mother she's supposed to be, how much of a wife, how much of a this and that, how much of duty and how much of what she wants to do, and why work, and then what is it? So if without work, does she still have respect? So there's so many questions that come up, existential questions that come up with that, just that one thing getting removed from life. So of work. So yeah, that has been a key turning point, and yeah, we have seen that we are able to give back some of these things that women miss out on through work itself. So women who get back to work are able to get back their confidence, their agency, their financial freedom, and the freedom of the mind and financial independence. All of this they're able to get back. So yeah, so that's that. So then work is work. The importance of work extends beyond the pay, right? It actually gives back your self-respect and confidence in a very big way. So that's actually also what we have captured in our book Found Again. So which we'll also touch upon in this conversation as we go along.
Yeah, since you brought it up, maybe we can actually speak about it. I think I read somewhere that from conceptualization to going live, it was 3 months. That's
Yeah, it was.
amazing. I was like
Yeah, yeah,
shocked.
yeah. So we are shocked now when we think about it, how it happened. But yeah, at that time it was, yeah. So it happened. So I think uh, there are two ways to look at it. One is we did the work in 3 months, but it has been in the making for 6 7 years. So it's like because it's everything that we have worked on has actually led to this. So it's in a way nothing new, but yet the
New.
project itself is new. So we've been thinking about this for a while, and because the we have been seeing the journeys of all these women who we have placed, like thousands of women, and they do go through so many ups and downs, so many hardships in trying to find it back. And I have myself faced that, so we see that and acknowledge that. And one common theme is the persistence with which all of them continue, with how much they do to keep themselves abreast of what is going on, how they keep trying and how they keep acquiring skills, and then how they keep going basically with hope, even after facing multiple rejections at multiple points in their life, right? And in multiple ways, and having many false starts and drop in confidence. So many things happen, and we've seen all of this journey. And with their self belief and with their persistence, they've actually made it back to work. And then now they are having like a career which they can shine. They are shining with their professional skills as well as balancing their life, right? So we have been hearing these inspiring stories from women in our journey of placing them, and our team members have been hearing much more, right? So people come back and say, "You guys have been godsend, and really grateful to you," and all of that. So basically, we've been living. So that has been our reward. So in a sense, but we also thought that maybe these voices are worth amplifying also, right? So because we have had the privilege of listening to these stories and getting inspired, and getting inspired every day, and then that helps us back in our work itself. We thought that there'll be benefit, like you are doing, right? So you are amplifying voices which can benefit others. So that was the intention, that there will be women who will read about these women who have made it just like them, very much like them, so relatable, so similar journeys, and they will get inspired, and they will also learn what did they do, and they faced these hardships. What did they do? So did they not get any questions? Did they not get any objections? Did they not get any roadblocks, or was it all? Did they all get success at one shot? So I think it's in vicariously living through these stories, people get hope, people get inspiration. They are also able to learn the tips, and see what applies, and what they can do in their own life and their own function. So that was our genesis of why we wanted to write the book. And it was a no-brainer when we said in a meeting, "Hey, why don't we write a book?" It just caught on. And Women's Day was coming up, so, and it was and the timing of it was like just right. So 3 months is a good amount of time to execute a project. We didn't know whether a book could be done or not, but we just went all out. And we had a stellar team. So we had a 10 to 12 member team from within Flexibees, whom we formed a book project kind of thing. And then we selected the protagonists, and across functions and life stages to the extent possible. And we conducted deep interviews, because this is not entirely a clinical exercise, because of what a woman goes through, her heart, her soul, and her brain. So everything, right, we wanted to understand and bring it out to the world. So we conducted depth interviews, and we also decided co-founders ourselves will be authors, because of our affinity to the vision and the respect and empathy that we have, and of course the timeline. So all of it coming together. So yeah, we put in place project management. We had a couple of team members being project managers, and then we put a tight ship, and we got consultants and publishing agencies in place who helped us, because we didn't know anything about the subject of book publishing per se. So yeah, so it was very exciting, extremely exciting, and and very inspiring as very inspiring as a goal for all of us to pursue. So I think that's one reason why it happened in 3 months, end to end. Yeah, but it's been cooking in our hearts for many years. Yeah.
Yeah, and such a beautiful vision. I really, I mean, admire everything that you do. And considering that this is something you started even before COVID, right? Now, at least flexibility, remote working is all still
Yeah.
nomenclature used. I'm sure when you started off, how was the resistance at the companies? You must have faced a lot of resistance saying flexible work and remote work and second careers for women. I mean, how did you manage that initial resistance?
Yeah, so we actually figured a sweet spot actually in terms of a solution. So these were experienced women professionals, right? And who wanted to work part-time because part-time was the time they had, and that was the entire time they were willing to give to an organization or to a work. And there were also startups who wanted experienced people who needed great talent, and
Mm,
they also wanted only for part-time hours, right? So they were, as they are growing, they didn't have a need for a full-time CMO or a full-time CFO or even a digital marketer.
mm,
Part-time was fine for them actually, as per the needs of their business, but
mm.
they wouldn't be able to find it in the market,
Yeah.
right? So first of all, they wouldn't be able to command the best talent in terms of brand or pay or anything. So, and they wouldn't know, as they are themselves learning, they wouldn't know how to recruit for certain functions. So
Mm,
we saw actually that there was this need,
mm,
this solid need for talent, which was being unmet.
mm,
So actually, what we did is we actually ended up matching, putting this jigsaw into place. So it was not like we had to go and I mean, shout from the rooftops that, oh, these women are there, please help them. It's not at all like that. There was a very inherent and basic need for talent to work on a part-time basis who could be committed, and this perfectly fit that use case. So it was a very intuitive fit, and yes, as we started doing more and more, we realized the other needs that businesses have for which this talent and this way of hiring was also fitting. So even large companies ended up having a need to hire on a flexible basis, on contract basis, project basis. So all of these needs were also we were able to fulfill from this talent pool of women. So yeah, and we had to, yes, of course, we had to explain a little bit on why flexibility is good and what are some ways in which we are controlling for quality. All of those things, of course, any business when you are selling, you have to establish your credibility, which we did. But I wouldn't say we faced massive resistance or anything. It was because we found the niche and we expanded on it.
amazing, right? I think, and like you said, right? I think in a woman's career and a trajectory, it's completely different from men for whatever reason, right? Whether it's maternity, which is biological, or caregiving, or in today's day and age where people just want to take a break to discover themselves, right? Even that is becoming normalized in our
Yeah,
cultures today. So,
yeah.
I mean, you would have seen a lot of women's challenges, through solving for and be Flexibees. So, just curious, what are the most common challenges women probably face in their careers, and what do you think can help them navigate it?
So yeah, the top ones are which can actually halt a career are these things like relocation, owing to marriage, then maternity, caregiving. So these are the things which actually cause dropout. So this is like it's not a question of just navigating a career. It's like a question of having a career. So it's I think these play a very important part in our society and culture, where there is a lot of conditioning around what roles men have to do, women have to do, and the roles that we grow up with and we get conditioned to incorporate and do better at. So that's one big reason. And yes, of course, the constructs in which work itself happens, right? So that has to happen from this location, that location, which has opened up a little bit now post pandemic, and caregiving and the support available to raise a family. So these are all big factors actually, which have a significant impact on a woman's career. So yeah, there are no easy answers. So there, I mean, solutions have to be built from the institutional, economic, to family and welfare to the individual, right? So and there are multiple organizations chipping away at all of these issues which impact women's careers. So Flexibees' way is choosing one particular way like one small part we have chosen, and which is to build flexible careers. So that is our way to solve for women who find it hard to uh, 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 sustain in this full-time grind, basically, and that has been working for a large segment of women. Other ways could be having family friendly policies and more inclusive cultures, which help sustain that career, right? And have a equal opportunity for both parents to bring their whole selves to work, right? As their parents, as well as their professionals. So yeah, there are a host of solutions possible, and yeah, so this our way has been to find flexible work, which can help parents and those who need flexibility navigate the challenges of managing everything.
Yeah, that's true. And I think one of the things that you told me also stood out for me, saying that one of the biggest challenges for women coming back from maternity also is to regain their confidence, right? And I think as a coach, I also meet a lot of women, who've taken break for maternity, and maybe, not just for one child, they wanted to have two children over a break. And, before you know it, it became 5, 7 years and 10 years, and suddenly they feel out of relevance, right, in the
Yeah,
industry. Uh,
yeah.
how do you think women can actually regain their confidence? If there are listeners here in our audience as well who are probably in their
Yeah.
break or planning to get back or are already back but don't really feel as confident as
Mhm.
they used to, how can
Sure.
they get that confidence back?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, confidence is at one stroke a big area as well as a solvable thing. So I think one is for we have to look at it as a host of things, basically. So why first of all we lose it is, so when we are working, right, there is so much we do around work, we don't realize it. So we are in that mode where we are in a work think kind of mode, right? So we go to the office, we or whatever, we engage with others, we talk about work issues, we talk about the functions, and then we know what is happening outside of the company in that industry and within that company, why certain things are done. Then you have a support system around work, right? You have peers whom you can consult with, talk with. So and of course financial independence. There are so many elements which are integral to our identity in work, right? So we are in that mode without realizing it. So when that thing is taken away, or when you have to give up on work, so this all of these things go away at one shot, right? So the transition that happens in life due to work going away is a very big transition. So it's a financial transition, it's an emotional transition, it's an intellectual transition, right? Because you are used to thinking work issues and solving work problems and work crisis and all of that, and suddenly there is a big void where that used to exist, right? So your naturally your mind struggles, it doesn't channelize. The brain is not channelized in the way it used to be, right? So something else occupies it, but there's a big segment which is missing. So I think then the solution also is to get all of these back little by little. So we have kind of built a framework called iRise, which we talk about to women, which can help them come back to the career. So like I stands for introspection, right? So we say, take a look at what all you have done, you yourself have done, right? So you look at your past resume, look at your appraisal papers, and talk to your peers whom you work with, your colleagues whom you work with. So then you'll get reminded of the things that you did. So then you realize that you only did that. It's not somebody else. It may feel like it's someone else because a year of motherhood can feel like a decade of another lifetime, right? So it can feel like that, but it's you who did that. So, and all of that you had is not going away anywhere, it's still inside you. So that itself gives a little bit of confidence. First of all, taking stock, introspecting, and seeing what all you have done, what skills have you actually possessed, which skills you were most proud of, which you were most happy to engage, and which were you did because you job had to be done and you were not very happy about using those skills. So I think the first element is to take stock, which was I. Then R stood for research. So research about your function, your industry, where things are going, the economy. So, if you're an accountant, you might like to visit the government or statutory groups where there'll be updates about what is happening. If you're a marketing professional, you might want to go to industry associations or networking groups and have and understand what's going on. So research about all of these elements also helps you keep in touch. Then again, you get back the thinking mode about work. Oh, okay, this industry is going in this way, and then if this kind of how will they address these kind of problems, or these kind of marketing challenges are coming up, how will they answer? So I think basically the kind of thinking kind of comes a little by little back, right? Then I rise. I stands for interact. Interact is again with your colleagues, ex-bosses, friends. So there's so many people whom we have placed. They do all of this. So it's not like they do like a course. Oh, I will do this and this and this. So we know that those who are successful have done a combination of all of this in their attempt to come back, right? And say for example, there was a project manager who was away from work for a few years. She got in touch with her friends at work, and she kept asking them, what are you doing, what is the latest thing you are working on? And then they said this is something called agile, and then she said, oh, okay, let me go look it up. And then she went looked it up, and then she did some course. And she didn't just stop there. When she was doing something project or something, she would ask questions and resolve her doubts with her colleagues, with her old colleagues and friends, right? So it's like she took her own learning she took accountability for her own learning. So even though she was out of the system, she didn't want to leave that learning part, right? So she kind of made up for whatever she lost out on. And she is completely on track, and she could sell herself as this project manager who had this project experience with agile. She did some few projects with friends, a few projects with family members. So interact, and then we skill up. So skill up is again doing courses or doing hands-on projects, so that you get two things. You get skills, because while doing you get a lot of skills, right? And also the confidence. So the confidence comes from execution. So a lot of confidence comes from execution. Then finally, e-update. E-update is to again collate what all things you have been learning in your phase of looking for a job itself, and then update and put it out to the world. Then sell yourself and speak to prospective clients and customers that this is what you have been doing and this is what you know. So I think we can take a systematic approach to get these elements which we lost during work. So getting a job itself is a project, right? So it's okay to have that as a project. And what we see is that it can get hard. So you need to have your anchors, your own anchors for your life to keep yourself going. So it can be a person, it can be your own practice, it can be a coach, like you're helping out people. So it's helpful to have some accountability or anchor mechanism, so that you don't give up when things go hard or not as in the timelines that you expect. So yeah, it's a complex project, but we have done it, so it's possible.
Beautiful. I'm going to remember that, like 1 year of momhood is equal to a decade of life, right? And very true. I like that IRISE framework. I mean, it's very holistic, and I think it's step by step, right? I think it doesn't happen overnight, but uh,
Yeah,
you
step
keep
by step,
persisting.
and it's iterative. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily linear. It can go all over the place. But these are just frameworks that we remember, and we remember to remain on track. That's all.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
keep
like you
going.
said, persistence, right? To keep going and keep
Persistence.
finding
Yeah,
your way.
yeah. Like Dory says, keep swimming. Yeah, we have to keep swimming. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's very powerful framework. And I'm remembering the conversation where we also had, wherein you'd mentioned that you personally experienced burnout as well. in your professional career. So how was that for you? What kind of factors led to it, and how can probably listeners who are listening in today avoid that zone of burnout?
Yeah, so it's again a very personalized thing. So burnout can happen for various reasons for various people. So I think it's the main thing is for us to have awareness within ourselves as to why it is happening. And so for me, it was a journey of exploration. So in hindsight, what I know today is that I think it had happened because of my having very siloed interests actually. So I was either a mom or I was a career person. So there was literally nothing else I had. So it was just this that. So it was like there was nothing for this self, that honoring this personhood, that the person that needed something. So I was not really honoring the needs of the person. So it always duty and what is needed and what am I responsible for. So clearly that was a path to burnout, and I did work upon myself. I took help from therapists, and I myself added things of what gave my soul joy. So like learning the piano, writing, poetry, music. So some of and spirituality, of course. So yeah, so all of these are, I mean, have been attempts to reclaim something which was lost in the process when I didn't realize what I was losing. So yeah, when I added some of these bits back, so I became more of a fuller person. So and actually adding these things made me a better professional, made me a better family person. So it was contra intuitive. So I was giving time to other things, but actually the time I was spending on my core responsibilities became much more productive. So as my presence increased, as my mental capacity increased, my happiness levels increased. So that was my way of finding, and everyone has to discover their own way to what gives them a sense of balance and joy and keeps them as a full human.
Wonderful. I like how you started off by saying that in retrospection is when you figured this out, because I think when we are
Yeah.
in the middle of it, we're just so
When
caught
you're
up.
yeah, yeah, in the middle of it, it's confusion, hell. Yeah, it's like, yeah, we have to swim through it and figure it out for ourselves. Yes, yes.
Absolutely. And I read this quote somewhere that said that burnout is not when you're doing too many things, it's when you do too little of what gives you joy. And I think somewhere the
Ah,
answer you found for yourself is also that what really makes your
very
soul
well said.
come alive.
Yeah,
When you
yeah,
added that back, the balance happened. Very nice.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Very,
And
very well said.
you touched upon this whole spirituality aspect. So I'm just curious, what is spirituality to you?
Oh, and let me not get into definitions because that's so hard actually. Yeah, so I think, yeah, I've always wanted some deeper meaning and connection throughout my life. And earlier it used to be study study around studying the Sanskrit language and some scripture and all of those things. Yeah, after my mother passed away, there was a shift. There was something which happened drastic, which so faith in the way that I used to have faith before, that no longer existed. So there were other things I was groping at. So slowly I got led to Eckhart Tolle on presence, the power of presence, and read books and podcasts, and then yeah, meditation. So as motherhood also led me to meditation. I wanted to be a better mother to my daughter, and be more responsive to her rather than react. So that led me to meditation, and I've been a meditator for many years now. And yeah, somewhat recently, a year or so, I've discovered Byron Katie, who talks about. So there's something called the work that she has discovered. She has been gifted, which helps us remove remove or get freedom from one stressful thought at a time. So that has been very helpful to me personally. So I really don't know how to define what is spirituality and all of that. So I hear all of these people, and it helps a lot in terms of putting in perspective. I think it's about perspective. What is important, what matters. So I think I'm learning more and more about that as I follow these masters of what is important, what matters. And yeah, practicing the work has helped me get 5 minutes of peace at a time. So I think that's worth it still. So one thought which can bother you for 5 minutes, if you get relief from it, 5 minutes of freedom you get that day. So it's worth it. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. So I don't know the definition of what I'm doing, but this is working. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And so coincidentally, I think one of my turning points also was when I was gifted the book Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I think I read it in 2016, and it changed what you said, that perspective of
Yeah.
what are we
Yeah.
really doing? What are we really engaging?
Yeah.
What really
Yeah.
makes a whole difference, right? And
Yeah.
I think that only
Yeah.
put me on this path in some way. So I
Wow.
am,
Okay.
yeah, so very
Yeah.
attuned to what you just said, and amazing experiences, right? And you said that you've been practicing this meditation, these mindfulness. Uh, what has it changed for you in your daily life?
Mm. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Actually, it's like difficult to say because I'm a very different person today compared to a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. So it's like I yeah, we don't know what causes what, but I can definitely say my reactions have slowed down. The reactivity definitely has slowed down. There's of course a long way to go, and we're always a work in progress. There's lots to do. Still, compared to where I was, I can see in hindsight that okay, I don't know what that thing was. I don't know that person anymore. I don't want to know that person. I don't want to be associated with that human being who it is. So it's like when we grow, we cringe at who we were, right? So I think but anyway, it's good, all good. So yeah, I think reactivity has definitely gone down, and yeah, it's not that there is no reactivity. There are hard times when we fail ourselves. That I fail myself. That happens. Yeah, overall the number of times it's like these large waves they become slower and whatever, softer and softer. So yeah, I see that happening.
Beautiful. I always find it very hard because these kind of personal growth is so intangible, right? But these
Yeah.
practices somehow work, and I always am curious on how others see it manifesting, right? So it's always nice to hear
Yeah.
how these practices change. It's very subtle, and like you said, but over a period of time, when you look back, you can't even associate with
Yeah.
who you were. That's how
Yeah. Yeah.
drastic a change it is over a period of time.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. And most of things, basically, everything we do impacts everything else. So, yeah. So, how I addressed adding back all of these elements to myself and together with the meditation and everything helps actually. Yeah.
And I think when I was reading the introduction, I was curious. You had mentioned that you did the work with Byron Katie in LA just recently. So, what was your biggest takeaway, maybe, in all this inquiry into thought?
Oh, that was a very profound 10 days actually. So, it was like a different world. It was like a bubble where we were in the presence of love, and that itself accelerated so much for us. So, yeah, what can be the biggest takeaway is I feel hope that there is a solution to end suffering. So that is human suffering. Yeah, that can be my biggest takeaway. Yes. Mhm.
Wow, that's profound.
Yeah. 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 It's
Amazing.
all
Shall
yeah.
we?
She's
Sorry.
basically made Katie has basically made the tools which can help people. So it has to be self implemented, so there is no shortcut. So to that extent it's completely dependent on each individual to for them to use the tool. but it is available and it works.
Yeah, for me also those four questions, like I said, they are a go-to practice when the belief kind of takes over you, and any limiting belief where it takes over you, and I don't know. For me, self-doubt is a big thing. So when it starts to cripple you, how do you really work around it? And it's so beautiful. It's so simple, but I'm always amazed at how it works every single time.
Yeah. So you use it for yourself and also for clients, is it? I
Yeah,
can't
no, so I
remember.
use it for myself as well, and sometimes for my coaching clients to, reflect.
Okay.
Shall we go into the rapid fire now?
Okay, I'll try.
Make it
I'll try.
easy, yeah.
Sure.
So let's start with basic ones. Morning person or night owl?
Morning, totally morning. Yeah.
Always on time or little behind schedule?
Always little behind.
I like that.
Too
Always
bit.
little behind.
Yeah.
Okay, books, movies, podcast. What's your preferred mode for learning?
Podcast, definitely.
Any top recommendations from which you learn a lot?
Oh, so mine are always on autoplay. Eckhart Tolle, Byron Katie. These both I'll keep toggling. Then in between it will be some opera or it will be somebody else, some motivational, Brené Brown or who else? Muji. I think top will be Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie for me.
Lovely, lovely. What are your top non-negotiables in your daily routine? Something that you just have to do no matter what.
Meditation. Meditation, then what? I have to do some kind of writing. So the kind of writing changes. It can be gratitude, or it can be the work, or it can be something else. But there has to be something, or even a little bit of that. So, yeah, primarily these two.
Lovely. One word to describe the pandemic for you.
Rebirth.
Amazing. If you were to reflect on what your best version should look like, right? I know we all say we are work in progress humans, but what is your version of that, best version of yourself?
My best version would be when I'm authentic, when I'm expressing my talents and being kind.
Beautiful. Who have been your role models and what kind of qualities have you admired in them?
Oh, so this, well, most recently, Byron Katie. So, I mean, she's a spiritual master, but she is an at-home spiritual master. She has her family life, a very full family life, which she's fully engaged in. So I think that was very powerful for me. That gives hope that you can stay with the complexity of this life and also pursue the deeper truths. And she's so loving and amazing. Basically, it was a great privilege to be in her presence. Then role model, huh? Role model, I don't know how to say this, but there are many things I admire in my daughter. So, and I learn from her. So she is in many ways my role model, and she grows up in a different culture, right? So every generation, we do a little better. So there is a lot to learn from that generation and culture and to apply back. So yeah, these two come to mind.
Amazing. And if you had to share probably one takeaway from our conversation, which the audience can take back, what would that be? The biggest message?
I think some point we should all learn to value ourselves, know ourselves, and value ourselves. So that has profound impacts on every aspect of life. So yeah, I think our journey becomes a bit more easier when we know ourselves and value ourselves.
Beautiful. But yeah, I think I was just going to say thank you. It was a really amazing conversation. And I think I'm going to reflect on the many things that we probably discussed today. And I'm sure the audience is going to create great value out of it. Thank you so much. And I'm going to probably link the Found Again book for all the listeners so that they can also read and share these inspiring stories. A big thank you to
Absolutely.
all the work that you do in Flexibees. I think it is such a beautiful mission, and I'm sure it's changing lives in so many more ways, like you said. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here and giving me the chance to speak about my company and our work and our book. And we are most privileged to hear these stories, and it's been our privilege putting it out into the world. And I hope the audience enjoys it. Thank you so much, Shweta, and continue your good work. And you're doing amazing work yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Deepa.